Welcome, Wrestle Buddies, to the Wrestle Buddy podcast. I am your host, Andy, and today I am joined by some of the best Wrestle Buddies we've got. We've got Jimmy Baby, Zane, and Nick. How are we all doing, fellas?
Doing good.
Fantastic. A
Well,
little bit
guys,
nervous.
I know we've
Good,
only got
alright.
about 40 minutes on it, so we are gonna keep it quite short today. So we'll just get straight into it. So obviously we know we've done a full podcast on it, so don't want to spend too much time on it about Vince McMahon leaving WWE. Now some other stuff have come out since then. Obviously we have Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan are now joint CEOs. But you know what was interesting with that, Jim, is the fact that they stated that Stephanie and Nick were both joint CEO, but they only refer to Stephanie as the chairwoman. Do you think that means Stephanie's got a bit more?
I think basically the joint part is just because Nick will continue taking care of the business side of things, whereas I think Stephanie's just going to be relegated to the wrestling industry part, like the shows and that ambassador stuff she was doing before. And then I think that's what the joint CEO part is, and probably why Nick On isn't listed as like a chairman like Stephanie is.
Okay, that's interesting. And Zane, it was announced, I think it was yesterday, that Bruce Pritchard will be head of creative from now on. Now, the cynical part of me thinks that maybe this is because Vince McMahon's still got to be at home on the mobile with Bruce. Do you feel like Bruce is going to be the long-term option?
Yeah, with Bruce, I feel like a lot of his vision is aligned with Vince McMahon himself. And both Vince and Bruce have quite similar ideas. So I don't see a lot of creative changes going into WWE product that we see right now because of the fact that, again, Bruce and Vince have worked alongside each other for so long that I feel like Vince's favorite or Bruce's favorite and vice versa. So Bruce's vision is now clearly McMahon's vision. And the product isn't going to change much, but there will be some little crevices of information or crevices of changing that we might see. Because now there isn't an absolute power of Vince McMahon on the top, right? Because that matters. With Vince McMahon over there, you know that a guy like the guy is there, the guy who kind of changed wrestling for the better. But with Bruce Pritchard, I don't think he holds the same authority as much as Vince did. So while the general vision of the product will be the same, I feel like some things might start to flicker from now on.
And Nick, do you feel like Bruce is a good transitional creative rather than a long-term fix for this?
Yes, in short. Bruce is, as I say, he's got such a connection to Vince over the years that it's going to be very hard to differentiate between Vince's booking and Bruce's booking. But to keep the company stable so everybody doesn't feel like it's all been thrown up in arms, it could be a very wise decision to keep Bruce in there for now. But I know that Bruce Pritchard feels overworked from listening to his podcast. So there may be a very good chance that he decides to step away from this position and somebody else fills it in the near future. But as a transitional role, I think Bruce is the perfect person for the job.
Yeah. I think he's good for the transitional role, Jim, isn't he? And I think when you're saying that he's being overworked and stuff like that, maybe that won't be the case now because he's not running multiple jobs as well as, you know, when you watch some of the earlier Something to Wrestle with, Jim, he turns around and he's stating that it's not just getting the creative ideas or even in Russ or anything like that. It's trying to get what people are saying, transform it and make it fit in with what he's got to present to Vince, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that will be a lot lighter now with Vince not being at the shows. I do think, like you guys, it's a transitional thing. He's not the long-term answer here. If Stephanie is truly going to be in charge going forward, they're going to want their own people in there and not, I guess, people they've had issues with in the past. And I'm pretty sure that that's one of the people Stephanie has had issues with, her and him and Kevin Dunn. So I think it's just a transition. They're going to start phasing these people out little by little, because I guess if you were to just replace everybody at once, it'd be a kind of a shock, and it could impact the product short term, not long term, but short term. It definitely would impact the product, and you don't want to do that, especially with the Vince McMahon just now stepping down and the fear of what might come from that. And as I said on the Vince McMahon thing, I think by WrestleMania, I think you're going to have these guys phased out, and they'll have the new.
And what you feel like is it? Yeah, sorry, Jane. I know you had your hands up there. You go first.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that while I find it interesting, do you feel like with Kevin Dunn not having as much power as before, because obviously Vince is gone now, and there is going to be some power play in the back, do you reckon that we'll see a lot fewer camera cuts from now on? Like, someone's got to complain that to the guy.
Yeah, I think we'll. Do you know what? I think we will see a lot of Vince's flair through Bruce for a while, but I do think as well as we will see some little changes that Bruce will probably make that he was never allowed to make at the time. I think the only problem that you've got is now is, Bruce will be head of creative, but you know how much say will Stephanie have in the day-to-day running? How much will she have in the shows? You know, Triple H, obviously, which I thought Nick was a bit strange of him getting made head of talent relations. I thought he would have been more better over in the creative. Do you feel like he's there to kind of be groomed to take over that, or he's there just to be close to it as well?
I don't know. It seemed a bit odd to me as well, because if I was going to put anybody in charge of the creative team, it would have been Triple H. The guy has a very futurist vision for wrestling. He knows where he wants to take WWE, the image and everything else. But as far as him being head of talent relations, I think it's a good position for Triple H, because all the reports are that he has a very good relationship with most of the talent backstage.
And all the people who have left.
Yeah, and all the people who have left.
Yeah, I will get to that.
We'll get to that. But I think it's a case of right peg, right hole for now. Like, there was nobody better they could have put in the head of talent relations role other than Triple H. And unfortunately, that means right now he can't be head of creative. But that doesn't mean in the future things won't change.
Yeah, do you think, Jim, they've put him there for a reason? Because, you know, I think, which we'll discuss in a minute, the whole Brock Lesnar leave and stuff like that was down to the fact that Vince was a father figure to a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I think, Triple H is probably the best person right now to fill that father figure and stop the whole thing getting out of control with the talent backstage and whatnot.
Yeah, because if you look at a lot of the talent there today, most of them went through Triple H's NXT, and they have developed a relationship with him. Like I said, I can't think of many of the people that don't have a direct tie to Triple H. Not even Randy Orton, because he had the Evolution with him, so that's there too. So I think that's a great fit for him at this point, and I think it's also has a lot to do with, as we were just talking about with the creative, you don't want to replace everybody and send a shock through the product.
Yeah.
I think if you were to put Triple H at the head of creative right now, you risk that. Because I don't see him going with a lot of the stuff they're doing right now. He would want to change it up.
Sorry, I might be cutting in line, and I apologize profusely for that, Andy. But I feel like one of the reasons why Triple H isn't there, because remember when NXT lost the ratings war, right? The ratings war, quote unquote, against Dynamite. Reports emerged, and while we have learned that reports aren't that reliable over the weekend, that when Karrion Kross lost to Jeff Hardy in 3 minutes, it was like Vince sending a message to Triple H's NXT. And I feel like until Vince was gone, he wasn't very too big on Triple H's creative work as well. So when Vince is going, I feel like it was finally his call to hand it over to Bruce Pritchard. I wouldn't see him handing it to Triple H either way, even if it sends a shockwave. I feel like the primary reason was because he sees Triple H as the guy who lost him the ratings war to Dynamite. And that's why I feel like Triple H wasn't made the creative head.
Do you see a similarity? Because Vince McMahon Sr., he did not want Vince McMahon to do what he did with wrestling. It's not what he wanted him to do. Do you see a similarity between Vince McMahon Sr. and Vince McMahon and Triple H with their visions of what they want to do with wrestling?
I definitely do, and I feel like if anyone can take the helm right now and guide WWE to like big time glory, I'm not saying that it isn't big right now, but if someone can, I feel like that's Triple H creatively.
To take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Zane. And I think also the other thing that you got to look at as well is the fact that, sorry, Jim, one question I wanted to ask you as well is, with you saying by WrestleMania next year, now, WWE are known for not having long-term planning at the moment. I mean, they might have some bits and bobs like The Rock and Roman, hopefully. I'll get that in every podcast from now until next year.
I want to see it just as much as you do.
could we see
We
the
all do.
SummerSlam and potentially the Clash at the Castle play out, and then we see the calm for a little, and then we start seeing the changes because
I
they're
think
just getting through this next cycle?
I think once Clash the Castle happens, because I feel like they have a few plans going into Clash the Castle, and they'll want to see those through, just out of respect for Vince, because he's still alive. They're not going to shit on him if they can help it. But after Clash the Castle, I can see them starting to kind of phase in their own ideas and storylines on the lower end of things. So maybe fixing that mid card, which we keep talking about time and time again, that needs to be picked back up. I think Triple H, if he can get his hands on it, that can be a thing, because the NXT, the rate, I don't care about the ratings war and all the other nonsense. If you watch the shows from the beginning to the end, those shows were great. Everybody, kind of like back in the day, everybody on those shows had direction. Everybody felt important to the show. So maybe they start at the bottom and work their way to the top. And, by the time, like I said, with WrestleMania and plans in play, they're not going to pull the rug on something like Roman and Rock. It's just not going to happen.
And do we see maybe The Rock turn up at SummerSlam? I know he's not that far away. I knew you were right to say hello to him before. Kind of, he might not have been planning on turning up at SummerSlam. I know there's a bit in the schedule. He's not far away from it. But Nick Khan is his childhood friend, and obviously now Nick taking over the company alongside Stephanie, he could turn around and say to The Rock, look, we need to get this settled. We need to put some news on the actual product rather than what's going in the background. Because that's the big thing at the moment, isn't it? I feel like they need to come out swinging with SummerSlam. I feel like SummerSlam becomes a lot more important now because they need to start getting the news back on the product rather than what's going on at backstage.
Yeah.
Haven't you guys heard the news?
I can see them bringing in Rock like at SummerSlam now. I can definitely see that, because that would help take some of the, because the Vince McMahon retiring isn't like a terrible news story. It's just the stuff that's surrounding Vince is kind of what makes it terrible.
And so that's exactly what I was thinking, was the fact of if you Google Vince McMahon, which is what a lot of people will be doing right now and stuff, even the casual people like Sky News in this country, they had it on the channel, but when it turned around and straight away it says Vince McMahon retires under cloud of controversy. Do you know what I mean? So it's that kind of stuff where if now they've got to get, because WWE are big social media, big Google searches, they mark all this stuff and they watch it very intently.
Analytics.
And I feel like they need to change that now by bringing, and that's why I'm saying for me, SummerSlam becomes very important because of this.
You look like you have something to say, Zane.
Yeah, haven't you guys just checked what The Rock said? I thought we were coming into this because of his statement he made recently. He said he'll return only on one condition, at SummerSlam, and that's if Batista's there. So yeah, we might be getting The Rock coming back. I apologize for that joke didn't fly well, but I feel like if The Rock's gonna come back right now, this might be the perfect time. SummerSlam might be the perfect time, considering that they might want to shift the news away from Vince McMahon. But a better occasion for him to return would be Survivor Series. Again, I still don't think The Rock's coming back. But if he has to return, the Survivor Series. I think they're going to waste a return at SummerSlam. The card's already too stacked.
I think you fast track it just so you take some of the negative attention away from the
WWE. Vince is now gone. They need to paint the image that Vince is now gone. WWE is its own thing, and we're off to the races.
Yeah.
And if there's one person that can kind of help take that load off, it's a Rock show. It's The Rock showing up. He's a megastar around the world. So they're going to be like, oh, The Rock's back, instead of being like, hey, Vince left because of all this nonsense. There's still going to be that Vince rumblings down low, but The Rock news, again, takes some of that weight off their shoulders.
And I tell you one thing that, I always watch Facebook Shorts, some of the stuff where like they put intakes of interviews or stuff like that. I seen an interesting one the other day with Logan Paul where he was talking about The Rock after he had that controversy with the Suicide Forest or whatever it was, and how The Rock just basically blackballed him and wouldn't speak to him, told his publicist to tell him to take all the stuff down of him online and stuff, and he said we haven't spoken since and things like that. So even if you had you said to The Rock, look, we don't want to pull the trigger on the Roman thing just yet, but how about you come down and then have a little bit of a backstage awkwardness with Logan Paul, because that would drive a lot of, mainstream media, which is what they want. It's not even just the views of the wrestling side of it; it's the mainstream media pick up on that and say, they had an awkward moment, and it just plays into stuff. And again, I just feel like they've got to get a grip, and I feel like there's going to be something big at SummerSlam to take away from all this Vince talk, because they'll want to get it off that, based on the analytics, they'll want to get Vince stopped trending on Twitter, stopped trending on Google. They want to get something else in the news now and start the new era in a positive way.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Because I think this whole leak of the PG-13, I think the PG-14 was their big hit at first, but I think they've realised now that's not going to be enough.
What's PG-14?
Ask Jimmy, he's American, mate.
A little edgier. They concur. Basically, what I heard was the rumor was that Kevin Dunn, he's seeing that certain things are being said on AEW TV, and he has to bleep them out on Raw and SmackDown. Yeah. So he wants his job to be a little easier. So if they put rating on it, he doesn't have to bleep out as many words. And then maybe they bring blood back. Maybe not like to the extent of the other show.
It's all because of Cody.
Yeah, I mean, it's likely. I don't want to say likely. It's possible.
But
it's highly likely. It basically allows them to say a few different curse words more often and blood. I think that's the only difference.
Slightly edgier storylines as well.
We'll move on from Vince, as I say. If you want to know what we think more about this stuff, guys, go and check our podcast from Friday night. We've done like a breaking news podcast, and you'll be able to check that news out some more. But also, we had some breaking news on that podcast, which I do want to go into a little bit more about Brock Lesnar. It was reported on multiple sources that Brock walked out of SmackDown. Apparently, in response to Vince McMahon leaving, it said, if he goes, I go. How did that work out, Jim?
Oh, man. That was my exact reaction when I heard his music hit on SmackDown. I'm not even going to lie. Mm-hmm. I won't lie. I fell for the dirt sheet stuff. I was like, man, that's crazy. Brock left. But then when it was all said and done, no. I think they got worked over. They gave them a bad leak. And I think it's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah,
because the Twitter just went nuts. Oh, everything's screwed up now. WWE's falling apart, and it's like, nope. Here comes the pain again. Suck it, and it was just so damn funny to me.
Go on, Zane. You look like you're waving your magic wand there, Dobby.
Yeah, sorry. I was just like, the moment was so perfect. Like Pat McAfee going, I thought, and Cole's like, we all thought. And it was like they subtly acknowledged the fact that everyone got work. But to play the devil's advocate, like the dirt sheets, just to present a counter argument, the dirt sheets never report that he wasn't going to be on the show. They said he left. What if he left, cooled down, and went back in and came to do the show instead of them giving the dirt sheets a fake leak? What if that's a possibility as well? Because I feel like
just to cut you off, I'll counteract that with when Brock came out. He had the biggest damn grin on his face. And that tells me right there, that man did not leave.
No, it was all backstage.
And then I go back to a thing John Bradshaw Layfield used to, he said that WWE used to give these guys bad information all the time. Just because they knew it was going to generate viewers for them. Because people were like, oh, that's happening? Let me check this out. Yeah. And what, other than Vince retiring, don't you think, our SummerSlam main event just got screwed over by Brock Lesnar a week before? Don't you think people are going to want to tune in to see what kind of shit show is happening? 100%.
What did you think about the other news as well, about the fact that they were looking to replace him with Gorg?
Just a little personal story here. I'm in a wrestling group with some friends, and we had one dude delete his post and like go mute in the whole group because he posted that story, and we just ran him into the mud.
Wow.
Because it's gonna happen. I was like, bro, shut up. It's not happening.
You mean I didn't have you as a troll?
Not me? No.
I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Wow.
Never me.
New says fix the women's division. I know what everyone loves the women's division in WWE.
Nice.
Yeah,
we do.
They do, and right now they've got Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair, and that's apparently it because the booking has been shoddy and terrible. And like Jimmy, you said the other night, one thing that could come a massive positive from this is Stephanie and Triple H love women's wrestling. They adore it. They want to present it properly. Hopefully, this means we get the Evolution pay-per-view back, but as a regular thing, not just a hey, look, it's a load of women on a show.
What? The Shayna Baszler is a name that people always say, man, come on, fix her. Books her right. Who's going to fix Shayna Baszler better than Triple H?
Nobody.
I tell you what, I don't see her as Shayna, never have, never will.
On NXT, she was amazing. I awesome work in NXT.
Kind of a segue question. And I don't want to hijack the show, Andy, so just tell me to
Well,
shut up.
shut up then.
You can mute him and boot him.
Wow. At least it's fun now. I was just going to say that with us mentioning that Triple H is coming back, and you mentioned even earlier that this might open up the avenue of some wrestlers who went away from some NXT people who went away after being called up to the main roster or before being called up to the main roster. Now with Vince gone and Triple H having a little more influence, do you reckon we see Adam Cole come back?
No.
I'm just going to say it like that.
I think we see Killian
Wow. Big day.
Very possibly. Yeah,
I think the biggest one you see come back is Karrion Kross and Scarlett. 100%.
Yeah.
They seem to want to come back, just under right.
What about Gargano?
I think Gargano is going to come back anyway.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, I do myself. I think he's going to come back at some point. I think he's just enjoying the time with his son, and you know what? Good luck to him. Also, we've had some breaking news as well about Mr. Gresham. Apparently, has asked for his release from AEW. Apparently, he was calling Tony Khan and Mark and stuff like this. He wasn't happy with losing the title last night.
Is this news to you, Jimmy? Haven't you read?
I didn't hear that he called him a mark.
The entire report is insane.
Yeah,
apparently he cussed him out.
And then apparently they're saying that Gresham and a number of stars have said about the lack of availability of talent relations in AEW. They can't get through to anybody at all, which is sad, really, isn't it? You know, considering I know Tony probably thinks in his head. I don't know if how true this is or not, but this is just my kind of thoughts on it. Of like, well, Vince done everything. Vince dealt with the talent. Vince dealt with the thing, and it's like he really needs to get his house in order, doesn't he, Zane?
Yeah. But the thing with the entire Gresham thing was like, when he came out for the match, he wasn't waving the flag. He wasn't wearing his usual mask, and at that point, like, it was okay. Here's the thing: I'm all for professionalism. I feel like when the MJF reports came out that he booked a flight out to Las Vegas, I was quite pissed at him because he was taking the moment away from Wardlow. No matter what's going on backstage, you give it your all inside the ring. And Gresham came out, and that just gave away the winner of the match because he looked annoyed, he looked depressed, and even after the match, he was setting some moves, which is okay. His issues with Tony aside, you have to give Claudio that moment. That is something that I really dislike. Like, the match itself was good, but I mean, owe at least this much to your opponent if you're putting them over. Like, you owe it to the fans at least who paid a ticket, who bought the pay-per-view, who spent money to watch you wrestle. I feel like he wasn't giving it his all.
I have something to add to that once I pull it up.
Yeah. I get you, but it depends, doesn't it, on the situation, Nick? I mean, I know you've got to try and be as professional as possible, but you know, I've been there in my professional life sometimes where you get really frustrated and you feel like nobody's speaking to you or you're not getting your points across, and it's hard, isn't it?
Well, it's not just hard. This isn't the first time, as you say, we've heard about this. I know he's not everyone's favourite wrestler, but this is the exact same thing Joey Janela complained about, saying that there was no accessibility to Tony Khan. You'd ask questions to people and you'd never get answers back. That can't happen in a company the size of AEW. There's supposed to be a solid backstage structure for talent. Where's his head of talent relations? I thought that was Christopher Daniels' job. Surely he should communicate any grievances the talent have directly with Tony Khan. That's his job. Why isn't he doing this? Yeah. Is Tony Khan just unwilling to listen? Or is it that Christopher Daniels isn't suited to be head of talent relations? I mean, there's many possible answers to why it's not working. But at the end of the day, it needs to be fixed. Like, this can't go on in the future. Jonathan Gresham is an amazing talent. I don't think he was particularly unprofessional in the match. I just think he had lose face, and you could tell, unfortunately, that he wasn't going to win. But he came out, he did the match, and then he left. I mean, you knew something was up the moment Tully Blanchard wasn't with him.
I saw. I don't know any truth to this, but apparently someone is reporting that it appears Tully Blanchard might actually be done with AEW.
Oh,
He was not
Yeah,
at
the
His Honor and was reportedly due to commitments to his prison ministry group. The storyline Enterprises purchases by Prince Nana and rebranded to the Embassy, and Blanchard is not factored into any of those plans going forward.
okay.
And also, I can't find the quote, so don't butcher me, people, on this. But I saw it was the day before Death Before Dishonor, where Jonathan Gresham was complaining about black wrestlers not being able to be really good wrestlers. They have to have some kind of character attached to them, and it's not fair that a white wrestler is they're afforded that opportunity. And if you're thinking about a wrestler that kind of fits that mold that he's talking about, don't you think Claudio fits into that?
Well,
A really good wrestler with no character. So it seems like he was not based on that quote. It kind of seems like he wasn't a fan of putting Claudio over for the Ring of Honor title to begin with, and then they just weren't able to work anything out, and now you have this situation here.
which is weird, to be honest, because Kevin Owens once said that about Loki as well, because he said, like, he understood Loki not putting other people over, but when it came to Claudio in Ring of Honor, he was like, Claudio's a human horse, and that's his exact term. Like, if Loki isn't putting Claudio over, then Loki doesn't deserve to be on the roster. He said something along the lines of that. And with Gresham, like, I mean, if you have to respect the fact that Claudio's given so much of his career. I mean, I understand he's an ex-WWE guy and he's coming in, but he deserves that title.
I'm not disagreeing with that at all. No.
I mean, the build could have definitely been better. I didn't want Gresham to drop the title without any proper build and just like at the spin of the wheel. But I mean, like I felt there was a little bit of unprofessionalism on Gresham's part during the match as well.
I just felt like the whole pay-per-view wasn't put together well. I felt like it was just hashed together. There was nothing really,
Are we going to call unprofessional Gresham if all this was just hot-shotted and, like you said, you want to see build with it? Maybe that's what he wanted. Maybe he wanted to be heard. Maybe he wanted, maybe there was a conversation that needed to be had, and since it never happened, I mean, is that really unprofessional if they were treating him unprofessionally first?
Fair enough.
If all of what we're talking about is the case, I'm kind of on his side with it because it does seem kind of shitty. But then again, we don't know the true story. We just know what we're told and what we hear. So
I agree.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, I'll admit I've kind of lost out on AEW at the moment. I go through stages where they're really injured. A bit like WWE, to be honest with you, but at the moment, it's just really frustrating me at the moment because I just feel like they're throwing these pay-per-views together. They're not putting real thought and build into it. And it's just kind of, they feel like the build to a match is just have a brawl at the end of Dynamite or something like that to promote a pay-per-view. And it's just like, ugh.
I'll say this about AEW. Sorry, Nick. I'll make it quick. But with AEW, some of their stuff is really good, but then the other stuff they have is really bad. And at the end of the day, we're always going to focus on the stuff that's bad as opposed to the good, because the bad stuff is what generates, views, interactions, conversation. So
let me ask you something, Zane. Yeah.
Do you feel
like with AEW, the first year of a brand new company is going to be great? Obviously, the pandemic era helped that out. Second year, you're going to see a little bit of it down. They don't seem to have capitalized on that new business, new company thing, and now they just seem to be going.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Let me be the AEW mark of the podcast, right? Just to have a different opinion. I feel like they delivered very heavily during last year since CM Punk's debut up until Full Gear, right? Up until Omega Win. That was perfect. Like August to November 2021, I think was the best wrestling I've watched since I've been a fan. But right now, I feel like with too many stars injured, like AEW doesn't feel like AEW anymore. Like there's nothing on a show apart from FTR right now. Like, if I see the show, I'm like, which segments do I want to tune in for? Like, all right, I'm interested in Ricky Starks, I'm interested in FTR, but it's not like it used to be. And I mean, you can give credit to, like, you can attribute that to the fact that they've lost the shine that they once had as a new company. But I feel like a lot of it is because they're on the pause period of the fact. And right now, they're like, too many stars are injured. Omega's spec to come back. I feel like they've necessarily hit the pause button right now, and it's going to be a hard reset once All Out kicks in or once all these guys come back.
To play devil's advocate of that, do you think if Tony and AEW would have focused more on their people as opposed to bringing those WWE guys who are now all injured, and you're using as an, I'm not saying you are specifically, but the marks are using as an excuse as to why the product is suffering a little bit, don't you think the product wouldn't be suffering? If they would have been pushing someone like Ricky Starks instead of trying to put a Band-Aid on it with him now, maybe we wouldn't be having a problem because Daniel Bryan and CM Punk and Adam Cole are all hurt. Those guys were thrust into a big spot immediately, and those other guys were cast aside. And it was like, yeah, that's not what AEW was supposed to be. And I think that's people's biggest complaints about AEW is they're not what they said they were going to be. And because of that, now they're suffering for it. So I don't like the excuse that they try to use with, well, they have injuries. Well, you've loaded your roster up more than WWE did at one point.
Yeah.
With the
sacrificed your homegrown talent for it. So you just
and Nick, do you feel like this is a bad case? I know we talked about this a while back. Me, you, and Jimmy. Shut up, Shane. Let Nick talk. Right. A while back, we had a little talk about this, and we had a look, and we were looking. Is AEW don't invest in their mid card, same as WWE don't. AEW don't, but for a newer company, it's probably come back to bite them harder.
Yeah.
Because WWE just break glass for Brock Lesnar or whatever if they need to. AEW haven't got that same thing in the back pocket, unfortunately. But let me ask you this: do you feel like because with all these injuries and stuff like that, it's exposing their mid card where they've got no one they can promote to kind of lead the way?
Yeah, I mean, I'll compare it to what everyone says about WWE at the moment. Large people's problem, people saying WWE, is that they haven't built up a hero to take down Roman Reigns. They haven't built up enough heroes to take down Roman. Well, AEW haven't built up enough superstars to take the next spot. Because he's signed so many people. Like, at the moment, he's just put the tag titles on Swerve and Keith Lee. Now, I've not got a problem with that, but I can understand why a lot of people would have a problem with that because they've just come into the company, they've not really earned those belts, they've not really done anything to drive them. But it's taken away from the mid-card. Like you said, why wasn't Ricky Starks months ago pushed higher up the card? The guy is gold. Powerhouse Hobbs, why wasn't he pushed up the card months ago? There's plenty of guys in AEW that could realistically be that next guy, fill those spots if they needed to do. But it's indicative of Tony Khan's booking that he just seems incapable of playing with his toys. It's like he buys a new toy and then he forgets about his old toys. And he's just like, oh, they don't matter anymore, I've got my new shiny toy.
He's Sid from Toy Story 3, or Toy Story movies.
Yeah. Just doesn't break him apart. Well, actually, he kind of does if you look at the injury list.
Wow, Nick.
I mean, it's not wrong.
I'm sorry, but the one complaint I have about AEW is you cannot send guys out there on weekly television every week going balls to the wall because eventually people are going to break down. Bodies can't stand it that much.
It's not just that. I've always said is he gives too much stuff away for free on TV.
Yeah,
he does. Way too much.
See, here's the thing, right? I don't mind that, right?
Here comes tight ass with it. I don't mind.
Let's hear it, Dave. Let's hear it.
Because I don't want to pay the £20 for the thing because I'm as tight as a duck's ass.
With the power vested in me by the entire AEW Mark fan base, let me respond to all your concerns. And these don't translate my personal opinions. This is just me trying to build an argument.
There we go. The disclaimer and everything.
We should have disclaimers for that reason.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
Yeah, people. I don't want people coming and shitting on me on my Twitter. So, okay. About the issue that they haven't built stars, I feel like that is a legitimate concern. But when you have people like Kenny Omega, when you try and build someone, the fans don't kind of put their trust entirely into it.
Hold
Remember
on.
when Seth Rollins said something a few years back? He said like the wrestling fans don't wait, like don't have the patience for long-term booking, something along the lines of that. And I'm very in agreement with that. Like when they build a star, they do it perfectly. Like they built Wardlow, and I feel like Wardlow's a great example of someone they built while the other people had the main event scene. Now I feel like they've purposefully gone in the reset phase. Where like, okay, we understand that we don't have enough guys, and we'll start the building thing entire up again. Like I feel like right now they're kind of with the time that they have, they've built stars. Like they're building Ricky Starks. They're also they've built FTR as a main event attraction. I don't think FTR was that a year ago. Right now, they're the most over wrestlers in the
But
entire
is that
world.
down to AEW or themselves?
I think that has more to do with FTR than it does AEW.
Yeah.
But I feel like AEW did capitalize on that.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
easy
they-
to capitalize
they-
once people have gotten themselves over. You just continue
Yeah.
to put them out there.
There.
But just
But-
also to touch on what you said that fans they can't gravitate towards long-term stories. Okay, the longest story we've had in recent memory was Hangman Page Kenny Omega that went over
Yeah.
2 years,
Three.
and it was literally just like piece
Four.
here, 2 months down, piece here, 3 months down, piece here, and the AEW marks will tell you it was the greatest fucking thing wrestling has ever seen.
It was.
Also, the thing with like the problem with like putting just random people on there, you can build stars so easily in AW because anytime Tony puts someone on that TV, they go fucking crazy over him. They're like, I love this guy, even though they
Yeah.
don't really know this guy. They're just like,
There goes
Tony
that
signed him,
monetization.
he must be fucking awesome. So if you just
Do
push him
you
down
do
your
you
throat-
want me to tell you the biggest problem with AEW? Yeah,
I know what the biggest problem.
they've
just
done
do
this
it.
multiple times now. They can get someone there, but after the fact, they do not know what to do with them.
Not in the
the
slightest.
bubble
Thunder
pops
Road.
and they're just like, all right, well, it's done.
Yeah, they don't really. It's like, you look at '97 Austin. Vince got him there, and when he got him to the top and he won the belt off Michaels and it was his moments and stuff, then we were off to the races. That's when we started seeing the actual good thing. Where it seems like with AEW, the getting there is the good part. We've seen it with Wardlow, we've seen it with Hangman, and then after they get there, it's kind of
Don't know what to do with them.
it's like Tony. I don't even know if it's they know what to do with them. It's like they just lose interest in pushing
feel
that
like
particular
Well, it
person.
comes across like the booking style has no follow through.
No.
Here's
It's
the
all
thing, I feel
sizzle,
like-
no steak.
With the talent having so much say, do you think that falls on the talent a lot?
Yeah.
Because you see
Yeah.
someone like MJF who's able to get himself over because he seems like a very creative person. CM Punk able to do this. I hate him to death, but the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, they've been able to do it, even though they can push themselves on whenever they want. It works for them. And then you have other people who they get this spot, and then it's like it falls flat because they don't know what else to do. You have so many people. I think at one point there was like 5 talents on the roster that were using that go to black shit. It's like, yo,
I think if Hangman goes to WWE, he goes.
just like Cody, they present him as a huge star, and then they keep the ball rolling with him. And I think AEW did that for the most part. I think once they took the title off him, though, they had nothing to do with it.
I don't think when he had the title, they pushed him at
Well,
all. I think they just
They,
relegated.
they
I feel
did
like-
when he had the
I feel
title,
like-
but at least they were putting him on TV and he was having fantastic matches. I'm not going to take
Yeah,
that
but here's
away.
the thing. There needs to be more to his stories than having fantastic matches. Like,
Oh,
it's
no, I
like
agree.
the feud
But is
with
that
CM
up to
Punk,
him, Zane, or is that up to AEW to do
Yeah.
that for him?
obviously up to the creative team, because the feud with CM Punk, it began like 3 weeks before Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing is one of 4 pay-per-views they have. The gap between Full Gear and Double or Nothing, or Hangman's previous feud against, Revolution and Double or Nothing. Revolution is when he last faced Adam Cole. Just screw the second Adam Cole match he had right after Revolution and start the Punk versus Hangman build right then, and that would have been a match. Like, I love the story. I love the story they had with Punk and Hangman. I feel like if that invested more time in it, it would have been one of the greatest stories we have seen in AEW so far.
Okay, guys. Well, we're gonna have to wrap it up there anyway, because we're a bit constrained for time today. Nick's gonna be back in the not too distant future, about 20 minutes time, with an interview with Austin Aries. So make sure you come over and check that out, guys.
Super excited.
Come and support Nick, and we will be there, and hopefully have a great interview, Nick. And we want to all
Thank you
wish
very
luck,
much.
and we will be there to support you. But
Later,
from
Russ.
all of us guys, from me, Nick, Jimmy, and Zane, thanks so much for joining the podcast. We appreciate every one of you. We have been getting some really good viewership recently, and I just want to say I thank every single person who's watching us. Russ, Lifton, New, all of you guys who are here in the chat. Thank you so much. We appreciate every single one of you. Jimmy's wiggling his finger, so go on, Jim.
No, I was just saying, hey.
What does this mean?
Hey.
Thank you.
I have weird tendencies, man. I don't know.
All right, guys. Well, rest of buddies, thank you so much. We will see you again next week. But from me, Nick, Zane, and Jimmy, take care, and we will see you go. Hit it, Alex.